A woman was sobbing in pain after she got an unexpected skin condition on her body. She hadn't changed anything like her shampoo, soap, or detergent, but had been extremely stressed over the past year or so. The rash was not itchy like it usually would be, and to her horror, despite using several topical creams, it grew and painfully spread all across her lower body. Little did she know, she would be going through a world of pain before finding out the true culprit. When Australian Reddit user Ratted Jen began experiencing an intense rash in her nether regions in November 2022, the 42-year-old took to the 30-plus skincare forum to find a solution for what she suspected was either contact dermatitis or some sort of chemical burn. At first, Jen thought it was from the bathroom cleaner, since she had sensitive skin that was prone to stress rashes. Her husband had been battling some intense bowel movements and had been cleaning the toilet seat with something called Exit Mold Extra Strength every time he used it, just to make sure it was extra clean. She didn't have issues with him going overboard at first, but when her rash started after this most recent change, suspected that the constant cleaning was causing the rash or a chemical burn, although to her horror, it had begun to spread on her skin. She asked her husband to stop using harsh cleaners and also began wiping down the seat with baby wipes before sitting down. Jen described the rash as not itchy at all. It's so painful I can barely walk. I am sensitive to stress hives, and this has been a hell of a year for stress, but I've never experienced anything like this, ever. For the rash, she tried Novasone ointment to stop the pain, which was her go-to for stress rashes, but it only made it worse. Walking felt unbearable. She also used an antiseptic cream as well as some moisturizer in an attempt to soothe the area, but absolutely nothing was working. She decided to self-medicate and try lidocaine, a local anesthetic cream, and take some antibiotics along with a painkiller, but her pain would ease for a few hours at a time, and the rash had almost spread to her lower thigh area by this point. Jen's sister suggested yet another cream, but she hadn't tried it yet, and didn't want to go to the chemist for another ointment due to the pain she was experiencing when walking. She was also reluctant to go to her family doctor due to the placement of the rash and, desperate, resorted to asking for help from internet strangers. I honestly can't think of anything that could cause it except the cleaner. I have not changed soap, detergent, anything. What else can I try on my skin? Any advice very much welcome. Thanks heaps. Commenters on Reddit urged the poster to go to her doctor or an urgent care clinic, speculating it might very well be a chemical burn that might spread further and get even worse. Jen responded, saying that she had been stubbornly avoiding the doctor due to her embarrassment. Later that day, after some comments reassuring her that medical professionals would have seen worse but would know the best next steps after examining her condition, she finally opted to talk to a nurse over the phone who booked her doctor's appointment for the same day. Little did she know, her quick trip to the doctor would reveal that her situation was much worse. After the urging of some internet strangers, Jen had finally made it to the doctor's office on a Sunday afternoon. After her examination, she wrote an update on Reddit. It is a chemical burn, with a possible staph infection, which I didn't see coming. It was still spreading. The doctor wanted to send me to the hospital for stronger pain relief, but the topical analgesic is working wonders. She thanked commenters, saying that it was obvious after her doctor's appointment that it wasn't going to just heal up on its own and could have gotten much worse without treatment. The appointment was an awkward visit for her, but not as embarrassing as Jen had played out in her head. The pain was subsiding, and the doctor had continued to follow up with her even though it was a weekend night. However, it took a turn for the worse. Jen was still in pain. After her initial doctor appointment, she had been to see 2 more doctors in the following weeks, but nothing they prescribed worked. None of the medication they had tried, including antifungals, antibiotics, and different types of steroid ointments, stopped the excruciating rashes spread. She even had a lidocaine ointment prescribed for the pain. However, while it worked to alleviate the pain, applying it was a different challenge. She said, "It was so painful, I was crying while applying it." The area itself wasn't healing, and blisters along with signs of infection began developing in the area. Her own general practitioner, who felt lost after all the trial and error, had to personally call a dermatologist to book an emergency appointment for the next day, telling them she hadn't seen anything like her rash in 30 years. The dermatologist's office was only a brisk 15-minute walk from her home, but the pain was too unbearable, so her sister had to drive from a whole 45 minutes away to give her a ride for the 5 minutes it took to get to the dermatologist. A single glance from the dermatologist was all it took for a proper diagnosis and finally getting to the bottom of the situation. The dermatologist asked if she was using a hygienic rinse in her laundry. Jen confirmed, saying that she had been using the same laundry rinse for the past 10 years, adding a capful of the stuff into her wash. A laundry rinse is an additive to a wash load, typically used for its antiseptic properties to eliminate fungi and bacteria. Some people prefer to use them in their laundry, especially when they are worried about an infection, sharing a machine with others. Her dermatologist instructed Jen to immediately throw the product out, as well as anything else in her home that contained benzalkonium chloride in its formula, and that Jen's painful rash was a condition called granular parakeratosis, caused by this active ingredient. DermNet defines granular parakeratosis as an uncommon red and scaly skin condition that mainly affects body folds, most often the armpits. Mostly presenting in middle-aged women, it is generally caused by friction, blockages in blood vessels, and sweating, but has been known to be caused by irritants found in residue from products with BAK that aren't properly rinsed off in the laundry cycle. According to NIH's National Library of Medicine, it's an unusual reaction that could suddenly appear, and since responses to treatments have been inconsistent, removing the source of the reaction is typically the first attempted strategy with patients. So how was the dermatologist able to tell what's going on right away when multiple doctors couldn't reach a conclusion? And why would anyone suddenly develop a serious condition from something they've been using to wash their clothes for years on end? For dermatologists, the answer is simple. Jen's situation is actually quite common. Associate Professor Rosemary Nixon and Dr. Kajal Patel from the Skin Health Institute say we're seeing an uptick in patients coming in with skin irritation specifically caused by a sensitivity to antiseptic laundry rinses and other disinfecting products containing BAK. And the pandemic hasn't helped. We are now more cautious of germs than ever before, but have taken germ precautions to an extreme. Shouldn't the machine's rinse cycle wash the product off though? Not necessarily. The amount of water used drastically depends on your type of washing machine, and with the wrong combination, it's easy to overuse your laundry detergent. When you use a high-efficiency laundry detergents that have a much more condensed formula, the residue doesn't necessarily wash away during a normal rinse cycle, since there isn't enough water to dilute the detergent, leading to buildup on your machine and your clothes. The repeated exposure and rubbing on the skin of any residue left on your clothes can cause irritation. Those with a history of eczema have an increased risk of infection because as the upper layer of skin becomes irritated and flares up, the epidermal barrier leaves more room for irritants to enter, causing a vicious cycle of irritation. So what happened to Jen? Her dermatologist told her to throw out the laundry rinse and rewash all her clothes, towels, linen, everything with an extra rinse. Jen wrote, "Obviously it stays in the fabric. I can see now it started with my underwear, yoga pants, and jeans, all washed with a capful of Caniston." The derm said she had seen more cases of this in the last few years, sudden sensitivity to benzalkonium chloride. It's also in the Dettol spray and wipe I use to clean with, and apparently some hand sanitizers, even some cosmetics. The blisters were not blisters, but dermatitis plaques. They have started to heal now, but are still painful. The redness is fading too, 9 days after I threw out everything containing BAK and rewashed everything that touches my skin. I wouldn't wish this experience on my worst enemy. So how do we prevent skin irritation when washing our laundry? Less is more in most cases. Using too many add-ons to your laundry will cause a starchy buildup, leading to uncomfortable clothes that rub against your skin. New York Times reporters who vigorously tested different washing machines suggest using 2 tablespoons of detergent at most per load, exceeding 12 pounds, but 1 tablespoon is a general rule of thumb. Liquid detergent is recommended over pod types, as you have control over the amount of detergent used, since laundry pods typically have a lot more detergent than necessary. Some products will even suggest using more than needed on the label. Dr. Lee Chun of the Sydney Skin Clinic also suggests avoiding terms like optical brightness or sensational whitening when looking for a detergent. Items that claim to be eco-friendly or gentle might not actually be. Cleaning the washing machine itself with hot water and baking soda to remove remaining detergent residue and running clothing through the washer twice to ensure they are clean are also things you can do if there already is some buildup. And throwing in a bunch of additives like a scent booster with our wash is generally just adding more irritants to the cycle. In the US and EU, there are no laws that require a company to disclose specific ingredients in cleaning products, so manufacturers often opt to use generic categories like surfactant, perfume, and dye. For rashes caused by irritants, Healthline suggests using over-the-counter steroid creams, calamine lotion, antihistamines, an oatmeal bath, and a wet towel compress to relieve symptoms. However, just like Jen, it might make more sense to consult a health professional if you suddenly develop a skin condition. As with most things, being well informed of what is in the products you are using is vital. People who are more prone to allergic reactions or irritation should be more cautious about what they put on their bodies, even washing one's clothes. With these helpful tips, we can hopefully unsubscribe to any itchiness. Based on our last video, we put a poll on Twitter asking, if you were stuck in the hospital for 13 years and could only watch one show, which one would it be? And you might be wondering why we have Barney as an option. Well, I'm wondering why 9 of you actually chose it. One viewer commented, "Is this about the guy who hated the shit out of Barney?" You guessed it, he hated it so much in fact that it helped him wake up from a 13-year-long coma. Click the link on your screen to see the full story.